True mitochondrial dysfunction is not just like brain fog and some fatigue, right? It's a systemic shutdown that affects every fucking area of your life. And if it doesn't, it isn't a mitochondrial problem. By definition, I think people just live like these shitty lifestyles and that they blame the mitochondria just like they used to blame carbs, just like they used to blame cholesterol in the past.
It's a cop-out, essentially. And that's why I always tell people, start with blood work, start with lifestyle, eat more protein. I'm not even saying like lose body fat, count your macros, get in decent, adequate micronutrients. People are hyperfixated on their macros. They forget that they actually need other specific nutrients. Focus on those things and lab work.
This podcast right here is just for entertainment purposes. I am not a medical doctor, not a nutritionist, or a personal trainer. I am barely fucking qualified to operate a toaster. As Ruth Langmore so wisely said, I don't know shit about fuck, so don't trust me, don't listen to me. We're here just for shits and giggles. And if you trust me with health advice, then that's just natural selection at work. Don't do drugs, always listen to your GP. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the OptiCast with me, Nathan.
And me, Aubrey.
Where we show you how to optimize every single aspect of your life without taking years off of it. And today we have a very, very special guest. You probably know her as Coach or DJ or Vanilla or Face or Coach J Vanilla Face all together. She's a former Marine, a PD coach, hormone nerd, and a TikTok snipper of bad pharmacology, which is what we're going to be talking about today. She is one of the people who's on your feed saying shit like women can run TRT without turning into a dude, and peptides are not steroids, and don't call yourself a peptide goddess just because you use a GLP. And by the way, I love that line. She works with lifestyle clients, with serious competitors, and she spends way too much time trying to clean things up after clinics have fucked up you and your health by giving you 10 milligrams of testosterone as a woman. And, today is not going to be a lot of fluffy stuff on peptides are cool and just take this dose and all this type of stuff. If you listen to this and if you pay a lot of attention, here's what we're going to talk about. You're going to be able to tell how to tell if your mitochondria is really screwed or if your lifestyle just fucking sucks. Okay. You're going to understand who actually earns the right to use things like MOTC, SS31, SLUPP332, and who just needs to take a fucking walk, sleep, and eat like an adult. How to treat GLP-1s as performance drugs, not diet hacks, and what they actually do to your body once you abuse them. Where GHQ copper fits into real regeneration, not just skincare, and how to use female TRT without accidentally starting gender transition. If you pay attention, you'll walk away with a hard filter for when not to touch a drug yet, a simple way to categorize what each compound actually does, and a rough blueprint for how these phases actually work so that they can enhance your life instead of wrecking it. DJ, we're pumped to have you here. Let's start with everyone's topic where everyone seems to be losing their minds lately, mitochondrial dysfunction. Nowadays, it just seems like everybody has mitochondrial dysfunction, and the mitochondria is just this fragile thing that if you just forget to do a couple of things, is just, I have brain fog, I have mitochondrial dysfunction. So there's this reel that you said something that I agree with. And I think everyone thinks that they have mitochondrial dysfunction. And I'm the one to think that is actually true. I think that most people have some type of dysfunction at a cellular level, but it also seems to me and to you that the issue is actually what people do with that information. And that's where I want to start before going deep into talking about peppies, right? So can you unpack what the issue actually is? Someone walks into your office and they say that they have broken mitochondria or whatever the fuck people say. Where do you start before getting into peptides into this conversation?
I will put them on a scale and I will ask them if they exercise. It would not be a fun conversation, honestly. And I do think you're right. I think there are a lot of people that suffer with some type of dysfunction at a cellular level. But where was the concern with our mitochondria 2 years ago? Before TikTokers had these discount codes that they could sell these peptides with, did people have any concern 5 years ago? So I get the demand for some of these other peptides like GHKCU. I get that because those have always been issues that people are trying to address, improve. But in terms of mitochondrial dysfunction, very few people, it is rare to have true dysfunction. And you're not going to be like, oh, I'm so fatigued today. You're going to be in and out of specialists trying to figure out what's going on with your body, genetic testing. That's very serious. And again, if we do have some type of dysregulation, which I'm hesitant to even refer to it as that, but maybe we're not optimizing it to the best of our ability, usually based on lack of demand. So the people that might not have great mitochondrial efficiency, so to speak, are going to be the majority of people And the majority of people are not exercising, eating right, getting in adequate carbs. There's no demand and they respond to demand. So like in our realm, most people are not deficient. They're not dysfunctional. Other populations, very much so, which can be completely resolved by exercising.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a whole spiel. Sorry.
No. This is what you're here for. So like, I think you're spot on as usual. I think people forget too easily that like mitochondrial dysfunction is not a supplement problem. It's an input and an output problem. Like you described. And it's the same issue that we have in the conversation that we were just, people were having like last year was a big thing on recovery and how we have to focus on recovery. But people are not even training hard enough to actually even warrant these recoveries. When people are saying like, oh, you don't need a deload, I'm like, yeah, you probably don't, because I've seen you train.
Most people don't. Outside of our strength athletes on very structured tiers where they've got those 6 to 8 week platform sets.
Yeah.
Most people don't need a deload. That's literally why you create a training split that allows for rest.
Exactly. And I see motherfuckers like they're sleeping 5 hours a night and then they take like 1,000 steps a day and then they're scrolling TikTok like they're getting paid to do that. And then they just slam white monsters all day. And I'm like, dude, sure, that causes mitochondrial dysfunction, but that is not what you have. You're just fucking sedentary and you're just running on fumes, right? Like in my world, right before we even hear about MOTS-c or SS31, which is usually like something that I deploy in a priming phase with people, actually, I send people a list of like non-negotiable like foundations, like stuff that they need to nail before we talking about peptides. And this is nothing to do with like me being a dick who thinks that people need to like suffer and like prove themselves first. But it's actually because like without optimizing the terrain, the seed won't grow to its full potential, or it just might not grow at all. It's just gonna fucking die. And the way that it dies is just making you waste your fucking money, And like, I think people forget that like these tools are for specific, like Lamipritide, SS31 has been studied. It's one of the longest trials we have, 147 weeks. It's for an actual condition.
I had no idea it was that long.
Yeah, it is. It's two of them. The other one was like 90 some weeks. It's very well researched. It's not unlike MOTS-c or SLU, right? It's like we have almost it's 4 studies, right? Or TB500. It's nothing. Like it seems to me that like the people don't realize that like the purpose of these things is the same issue that we face with anabolics when people don't understand like why these drugs were created. Like SS31 is for Box syndrome. And then people are using it for mitochondrial dysfunction. And it's like, do you even know what Box syndrome is? Because like, did you know that we can measure mitochondrial dysfunction? Like we can.
But to be fair, if you tell people they have to take S31 before MOTS-c, you double your income on discount codes.
That's something that I intentionally do. I have discount code for like a couple of companies, but I don't even advertise that shit because it's not something that I'm interested in or anything like that.
My dogs are doing a howl fest right now. Is that coming through the mic? That might be my UPS. It is not my UPS. I have 4 tiny. Do you guys know what a Chinese crested is?
Oh, I know which dog it is.
The bald dogs.
Yeah.
My daughter's trying to scoop them all up to quiet them down. They do that once a day and they did it earlier and I was like, great, they won't do it while I'm on the call. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. But like what I was saying is like, like we can, when you look at the studies for SS31 on the mice that did not have mitochondrial dysfunction at all, when they took SS31, they saw no improvement whatsoever. Like nothing changed. And I feel like a lot of people are doing that. First of all, they're doing that because they're wasting these, though. They're talking about like fucking 1 milligram of SS31. The trial was 40 milligrams a day. No one can afford that shit in the first place.
Well, even with MOTS-c, when we start looking at things, and again, a lot of this is theoretical and anecdotal because so much is preclinical. But when we do look at the dosages people are utilizing, we're not even close to the realm of efficacy.
Exactly.
So they're literally just lighting money on fire at that point.
And I made a reel. I just told people like, hey guys, have you guys seen the trials of Sericim? You guys are wasting your fucking money on GH because you're just using like fucking 3 IUs. People lost their minds. They're like, you don't need that. That's for people with actual like diseases. We're just trying to grow. And I'm like, you think it's fucking easier to bodybuild? Like you think building muscle, it's easy. We need less doses for that. Like, are you fucking kidding me right now? But anyways, not to get too far off topic here. Like you what you said now, you actually said it in another reel that like True mitochondrial dysfunction is not just like brain fog and some fatigue, right? It's a systemic shutdown that affects every fucking area of your life. And if it doesn't, it isn't a mitochondrial problem by definition. Why? Because everything starts in the mitochondria. And I think people just live like these shitty lifestyles and then they blame the mitochondria just like they used to blame carbs, just like they used to blame cholesterol in the past, right? So like
it's a cop out essentially. And that's why I always tell people start with blood work, start with lifestyle. Eat healthier, eat more protein and exercise. And I'm not even saying like lose body fat, count your macros, like get in decent, adequate micronutrients. People are hyperfixated on their macros. They forget that they actually need other specific nutrients. Focus on those things and lab work. Like you might really be suffering because maybe you have an undiagnosed autoimmune issue.
Right.
And you are chronically inflamed and dealing with all these issues. Maybe you have hypothyroidism. Maybe you're smack dab in the middle of perimenopause and think you're going crazy and you have no idea what's going on, or you're hypogonadal. There's so many issues that can contribute to feeling fatigued and not your best. And I find for the majority of people, sleep. Nobody sleeps.
Yep. Sleep is fucking underrated. And I said this before and I'm going to keep saying it. Sleep is a PED.
Well, people go, what's the next, what can I take instead of growth hormone? And I'm like, well, the next best thing to taking growth hormone is sleeping.
Yep.
Sleep.
Yep. Exactly. Like, oh, but growth hormone helps your sleep. I'm like, it can for some people, for certain people, it doesn't. You know, like
I sleep like a baby.
You do? I get no effect whatsoever on sleep, independent of the dose. Like
I don't know if I noticed anything.
Yeah.
Different.
You took like
it's my favorite part.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Other than the snoring.
And the sleep apnea. Yeah. So like if you had to draw like a hard line, right? Like let's say, John walks into your office and he needs a mitopeptide, but Christina, she just needs to go for a walk and maybe install like Opal on her phone so she's not wasting her whole day like just scrolling life away. How do you carve out that plan for them? Like what are the steps that you go through to like executing that for?
So if it's a consultation call, honestly, like I'm there to do what you ask me to do. And I'll tell you if I think it's stupid, but I'll still do it. But honestly, it's case by case dependent. And this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. But when we're talking about these mitochondrial function and repair type peptides, that kind of umbrella, I don't necessarily think there's a lot of use case in advanced athletes. Like, yes, you'll get minute improvements theoretically, like you can improve, of course. And at top levels, small improvements go a long ways when you're already at max capacity. But when you're sedentary and there's still no demand and you want to use this because maybe you're pre-diabetic, we're clinically obese, we're not healthy, we're not moving, there still has to be a demand there to get the benefits. So personally, I think these really have a role when somebody's just getting started on their journey. So we're creating a demand, but they're not healthy and they're not operating at max capacity yet. So kind of that interim is where I see the most potential for a lot of these compounds that everybody's interested in. And most people aren't in that area, unfortunately. They've either been training a long time, they're trying to dial everything in, and they're looking for that one extra.
Yeah.
Or they suck and they sit on TikTok for 8 hours a day and they accidentally wound up on Pep Talk and they're like, well, look at my glucose. I guess I should take this.
Yep. Yeah, no, I really do think that mitochondria is just like a buzzword at this point just to hide like the people's shitty lifestyle. The way that I do the split, like it's basically this, right? Like you see like in a period like where people are dealing with a lot of chronic inflammation, when they have that variant of long C word virus going on, or, they're overreaching constantly. They're sick all the time. Their gut is fucking fucked. Their sleep is shit. Like, regardless of how much they're sticking to a routine, like they can't even stand like low training loads. If we adjust the intensity, they can't do it. They break down under stress. Like, I mean, these are the people that I will legitimately consider peptides after, or sometimes even like during correction phases so that we can stabilize these issues like upstream for them. Something like MOTS-C to like stabilize like the power grid, so to speak. Like that makes sense for me. But I'll always pair that shit with like low intensity cardio, like control the volume, control the intensity. Now, like I do see what you're saying of that like mismatch between demand and capacity, like that other person that just sits around all day and then they self-medicate with caffeine and then they binge whenever they get a chance. I mean, if you haven't proven that you can just take fucking 8,000 steps a day, that you can just hit your macros, that you can just sleep at a regular time for at least like 4 weeks, your mitochondria is not broken. You're just fucking undertrained. You're just overstimulated. You just lack discipline. And MOTS-C, it's going to make this person feel worse. Like, if people don't believe me, fucking go on Google and write like MOTS-C made me feel worse. There's so many threads of that on Reddit, on people just saying how it makes you feel worse is because you lack like a fucking frame. You don't understand how
Anytime you start messing with metabolic pathways, and it's not because, oh, well, you didn't fix your mitochondria with SS31 first. It's not that, but anytime you're causing those metabolic shifts and changing certain pathways, but again, the demand is not there.
Yeah.
You're not going to feel great for the most part. And that's actually a very common thing that we see reported. But I think there's this other weird situation, although I don't love it. I don't endorse it. I'm not condoning it. Peptides to me are PEDs, and that's a whole other conversation.
We're going to save that one.
But I will say it has been a motivator. When I step back and I look at these people, they are very motivating as performance-enhancing drugs. It's kind of like dangling a prize. People that otherwise would be sedentary and wouldn't be in the gym and they've never counted macros. They've never looked at protein intake in their lives. Well, now that because they're on peptides, they care. So at the same time, we are seeing people improve their lives. But the problem is they're crediting the peptides. They're not understanding it's coming from those lifestyle changes. But hey, a little bit of placebo that makes you a healthier, better, more present person in your life. I'm all about placebos.
Yeah. And I actually had a similar experience. I had a very poor lifestyle, was depressed and hedonia post Vyvanse. Vyvanse literally made me want to, delete the life.xc file of my own life. It was just fucking awful for months. When I started TRT and everything, it's like you start throwing these compounds in, and now every action has an immediate consequence. So like, if I just am natty and I just eat a whole fucking pizza, go to sleep, wake up the next day, I'm fine. Like, nothing fucking changed. If you're on 1.5 grams of gear and like 10 units of growth hormone and you do that, you're going to feel it immediately. So the checks and balances become very immediate. And that actually helps me be responsible with my own choice, because it's very hard for me to imagine the down side of.
You can't get rid of that awareness. Exactly. Once it's there, it sticks.
Yeah, exactly. And on another thing you mentioned is on the lifestyle movers, people don't a lot of these people, they really don't need the peptides. They need lifestyle changes. I was actually thinking about this. I have, out of my entire fucking roster, I have one client doing a peptide, a mitochondrial enhancement protocol. That's just one fucking person. And the reason is because the lifestyle changes are the biggest needle mover. People think they're just wasting their money. It's like when people are taking fucking NAD plus and they're 20 years old. I'm like, motherfucker, what are you doing?
Don't get me started on that.
You just like to feel pain. It was but stress and inflammation depletes NAD plus. And I'm like, yeah, and exercise and low intensity movement replenishes it. So why do you think you need an injection? You're not 50, or if you were 50, that's a different conversation. But what are we actually trying to enhance? People just don't want to believe that the lifestyle is the biggest needle mover. Because
but has anybody ever wanted to believe that? Honestly,
and they don't do that, even though injecting literally is a pain in the ass. Literally, they prefer to have that pain because it allows them to say, I've tried everything, before they can settle with this broken ass identity and play the victim card fucking forever. I feel like people are now realizing they're not reflecting enough on their process. I talk about this all the time. The problem is not the peptides, not the drugs, is that people don't have a fucking framework. And that's what, having someone that actually studies this shit for a living can be quite helpful. I don't know shit about cars, so I don't try to fix my own car on my own. If you tell me, oh, it's an engine problem, I'm like, okay, so should I just use better oil? Because I feel like that's what people are doing. I had someone this week who were, they were sharing their screen, and I saw on ChatGPT, it was what dose of SS31 should I take? Which, by the way, that's not a prompt. That pisses me the fuck off when people talk to chat like that. But in any case, I was like, why are you wanting to take SS31? And I was like, well, just like have a lot of like fatigue and and I was like, no. The question is like, which part of the mitochondria, like which part of the electron chain transporter are you trying to make it efficient? And they're like, I don't know much about this. And I'm like, then you shouldn't be doing this.
Well, I love that people use ChatGPT, honestly, because that's why we have jobs.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, you're going to lose your job. I'm like, no, you're just going to spin your wheels in place, man. That's just all that's going to fucking happen. But let's switch from SS31 to talk about SLU because I'm literally running, which I found out today, the equivalent.
How's that digestion going?
We'll get there. Like I'm running the equivalent of $2,000 a day of SLU, right? If I was just buying it off a pharmacy or anything like that. And if anyone who's watching ask me for a fucking source, I'm gonna block you. I'm not paying that amount.
Well, there goes half the comments.
Like fucking figure it out, right? Like SLU, I think it's something that sounds super fucking sexy, but we have very little data on MOTS-C and we have even less on SLU. So I'm like curious, like, do you use SLU like with clients? I do because I think the mechanism is well understood, like enough, and the results in blood work, like to me, they're kind of promising. But like, what kind of human like can expect to have SLU deployed when working with you, or do you think it's just like a bad idea out the gate? Like even if the mechanism,
I'm not comfortable utilizing things where we only have preclinical data.
Okay.
That primarily, like, are we using body surface area scaling? Like, what are we doing to kind of come up with these dosages? Is it based on known receptor density, sensitivity? I don't like using compounds that only have preclinical data. And again, I'm still very elementary in my studies. So even going to school, like it's a lot to learn how to interpret clinical data. I don't feel like I'm at a place to make those calls. And I see people like, oh my gosh, I'm running 250 micrograms and I'm getting such great results. And I'm like, yo, I'm running like 2 grams and I'm getting results. And I'm like, okay, so we still are basing this off of anecdotal data. And then I have these people that are like, well, look at these improvements and my fasting insulin, my glucose, my inflammatory markers came down. And I'm like, yeah, bitch, but you were doing my diet too. Like, where's my credit?
Yeah.
So I don't like going over it. I will go based on like I'm not going to give dosages, but the mainstream things that we see that are within budget parameters. And it's more of you're kind of doing this on your own accord because I don't feel like I have sufficient data. In terms of use case, I think potentially people that are trying to get into movement. So if I'm working with somebody that has very limited mobility, accident, clinically obese, and we're doing like chair cardio or something as an exercise mimetic to get those neurological benefits of intense exercise, I see candidacy there. And especially in like maybe really major fat loss phases.
Yeah.
Or an endurance athlete. That's where I would see potentially the most use case, but I'm talking out my ass because again, what data do we have?
No, but you're like what I do is like, I think the exercise mimetic claim is overrated as fuck. Like I can say that because I can literally count on my hands how many people I know in the country who are running the same amount that I'm running. And I like, today was the first day that I literally like check my folds and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I lost fat from last night to this morning on 500 milligrams of SLU a day. Like that was kind of fucking insane. But that's also not the only thing I'm running. I'm also on yohimbine. I'm also on clenbuterol. I'm also on growth hormone.
Yohimbine. Oh, do you handle that well?
No.
I don't know anybody that's been like, oh, I can take this.
No,
I can. Awful.
As long as, okay, please don't do this at home. But as long as I don't push over 40 milligrams a day, I'm fine.
I can't even take pre-workout with it.
I know, I can't either.
But you want to hear something crazy? If it's alpha yohimbine, if it's rewolsine, I cannot tolerate more than 6 milligrams.
What are you taking now?
I'm doing just regular yohimbine, just bark extract.
It's nice. It's a nice synergy to take with clenbuterol. I can handle clenbuterol like a champ.
I can handle clenbuterol until it's time to go.
Taking way too much.
What's the max clenbuterol that you've tried?
About what we would consider a ceiling dose for a grown-ass open bodybuilder.
Like 120, like 200?
I can handle.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's potassium and taurine balance. Yeah. And as long as you have the other things to support it. And actually, it's funny because now I don't like the use of it. I don't really condone it. I avoid it. I try and look at thyroid manipulation over it. I am not a fan of the cardiovascular risks. So I actually don't support the use of it.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
try not to use it, but I mean,
Yeah. So that's
obviously
like
I've tried
something that
it. I was a bikini athlete.
Yeah. Like I use it with women in between growth phases because of the potential. I still think it's kind of overrated, but potential muscle retention like benefits in there. Like I think like
Placebo. You put a woman on clenbuterol, all of a sudden her diet's on point and she's training harder. Again, it might be anecdotal. We know it's
Yeah.
muscle sparing, of course. We're not going to be in a catabolic state with it,
Yeah.
but it's going to push them harder in their off season. You sprinkle anything in front of them and say this is going to let you gain muscle. It's almost like an anabolic. Training intensity goes up 20%.
Yeah. But to your question, SLU, I'm pretty sure it is wrecking my digestive system. But it's also very hard for me to tell because like
yeah, but you're on a bunch of stimulants
exactly
too.
the stimulants like just wreck your parasympathetic, like just your fucking digestion just goes to shit.
Well, I didn't
way.
do so hot on it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait, what did you say?
I didn't do so hot on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
I was like,
I'm not gonna go in public today.
And I'm sure you've seen the people talking about taking it in a growth phase. I'm going to try that on my next growth phase, trying megadose SLU. I'm going to do half megadosing SLU and then half with anadrol and see if there's like a measurable difference or something like that. But I was talking to Dom Kuza about this because I'm like, nothing when I read all of the literature, the 4 fucking papers, like nothing really screams like potential for growth. So like his theory was that, maybe these people actually had some type of mitochondrial dysfunction and SLU helped a little bit. So they got better results because of that, but not because of anything crazy. And it's like, we're talking about trained individuals, people that have already added like 80 pounds to their fucking frame. Like it could be a game changer for these people. For people that don't tolerate a lot of the stimulants or don't want to use the stimulants, I think it's a viable option at a reasonable dose. Not what I'm doing. I'm just experimenting with myself. But like you said, endurance, fucking crazy. Like I started a running program and I just go by my watch, but I'll stop.
You're electing to run?
I am running. I am doing
Is that for the purpose of seeing how the SLU impacts you, or are you just like wanting to run?
I'm one of those people that actually enjoys the act of running, but 2, I don't believe that walking your dog in the morning just because you're fasted means that you're doing cardio. So like I refuse to go on the elliptical because it looks gay as fuck. And that is literally my reason. I will not go to the Stairmaster.
You look like such a douchebag on an elliptical, and I look extra douchey because my little legs have to spread so much.
Yeah, and it looks like you're one of those people walking with those fucking walking sticks, and those people piss me off. If I see them, it just pisses me off when people are walking.
Y'all should get rollerblades.
Yes.
Like what I remember when I was working with a BLP. Do you know BLP? Okay, he was helping me out with, some issues that I was having when I was back in college. And I was like, I want to grow my forearms. I want to, do all of this stuff. I need to grow my chest. I need to like get better cardiovascular capacity and stuff. And his plan was literally like, and I love it. His plan was like, have longer sex sessions for your cardio and massage your wife for your forearms. And it's like, at the time I was like, that sounds ridiculous. But right now I'm like, it's fucking good idea. It's a good idea.
It is. And I actually, because I work with a lot of couples too, we see such a lot, it's become a flex in our industry and in the bodybuilding industry, especially, to not do cardio. Yeah. And I do think it's cool when you don't have to do excessive cardio. That is a flex. Excessive being the key word there, but it doesn't, I think you and I have actually talked about this, about how people don't value cardiovascular health, but so many women tell me that like as their husbands get more muscular and cardio declines, that during sex, not only is it a performance decline issue, not in terms of like erections or anything, but they generally like get winded. Like overall, it's just a bad experience.
Yeah, no, I chose to not do cardio and to get intentionally fatter this season because I wanted to see the effect on my blood work. And I just found out that I'm one of those lucky bastards that doesn't get affected insulin sensitivity wise or anything like that because of body fat. Cardiovascular capacity, on the other hand, I remember this one time we were having sex and I literally stopped and lay down to bed and I'm like,
I've had guys tell me, like, I think I had a cardiovascular event during sex. And I'm like, we need to do more cardio.
Crazy. So, but like people don't focus on their VO2 max levels. And that is a marker of longevity.
Well, it's such a thing. I'll be honest with you, that's not something that I looked at heavily when I first got in the coaching realm
Hmm.
either. That didn't start happening until I started working with endurance athletes and elderly populations. And now it's something that I understand the importance of. But to be fair, I was one of those coaches that overlooked that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Sorry to all my beginner clients.
I mean, you wanna boost your NAD plus levels? Do actual cardio. You know, you said this. I'm gonna read this quote. You don't make a TikTok channel and call yourself a peptide goddess because you use GLPs. Yes, I am going to get that shit tattooed on my body because it's so true. And I love how you pointed out like how NAD plus isn't even a peptide, but for some reason it gets like jumbled up with GLP-1 RAs and
I think
SARMs.
anything that general population can inject into their body that's not a steroid is automatically called a peptide.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's no distinction on what these things are. And like, I feel like because like these blends a lot of times make absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. But like people don't have any clue what they're doing. Like they're just like experimenting on themselves because they see us experimenting on ourselves. They see us doing this
Yeah.
shit based off of so much data and so much research. Literally,
And I'm still an idiot. All I
it's-
do is research, and I'm still a
when I
moron.
show people like, hey, this is what my mesocycle looks like, and I show them the data, there's like fields upon fields of data, and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to do that for myself. And I'm like, or get someone to do it for you. I mean, I do that for my clients so they don't have to do it themselves. But like, that is the data. When I'm telling you, like, the data is not just fucking looking yourself in the mirror and taking your fucking scale weight, but like, it just like, how much do you think, I think it's fucking arrogance that the reason why people do this shit, but like, how much do you think this sloppy approach to just taking whatever, like just because it's compounded in the same vial, that the assumption is that I should just take all of these things together and it's going to be fine. Like, how much damage do you think this is going to happen? And like, when you're trying to, or if you're trying to like educate them on like whose knowledge, like someone whose knowledge is all like, well, if it comes in the same bottle, I'm just going to fucking inject it. Like, how do you break down for them that, you know, this is going to be a very bad choice? Like, how do you actually explain this process to people?
I don't think I do explain that
Okay.
process to people. So you hire me for a reason, right? I explain what I do. I feel like if you can't explain what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what it does, what the compound is and function, then I have failed doing my job. But in that situation, if you're going to buy one of those crazy blends that doesn't make sense, or we don't even have efficacy or dosing information in injectable form or something, one, I'm probably not going to want to work with you. And two, you're probably getting bunk stuff anyways. There's probably nothing in it. So do I think we're actually seeing like a lot of health repercussions as a result? No, you're probably not putting anything in your body, honestly. Now, if it's someone that cares, they're probably not going to come to me with these blends or even have an interest in these blends. Even the people taking like CJC and IPA, I break down like why I don't love the 1-to-1 ratio aspect. And I break down, GHRP's role stacked with a GHRH. And I'm like, it's inconvenient to dose them separately. But if you want to optimize everything, then we're going to do that. We're going to do it properly. So I don't think they're probably doing a lot of damage. I think they're just wasting money and poking themselves for no reason.
Yeah, I think the damage is not so much in terms of like health, but in so much of like how much progress is actually costing them and how much time is wasted just spinning their fucking wheels in place. Like
And relying on compounds, like a
Yes.
lot of reliance on
Yes.
compounds, like particularly GLPs.
Yes, dude, absolutely. And like at OptiLab, like I basically like try to explain like a taxonomy for people to bring like the conversation back into like, okay, let's categorize what these things are, right? So like GLP-1 RAs, what are they? They're incretin mimetics, right? Like what's NAD plus? It's a redox coenzyme, right? Like it's helping you with your sirtuin signaling. What is a sirtuin? It helps repair your DNA, right? Like explaining to people what these things are. And then I get to the point where it's like, oh, and SARMs, like, well, SARMs are just fucking garbage. They just don't really have their place in for the majority of people.
Are SARMs they're dead by now, surely, right? Like that's not a thing anymore.
I still see like cardarine and ostarine. I still see it like having some place. I actually deployed it with a couple of people before, like women having one application and then like endurance athletes with another one. But it's very rare, and I get it tested beforehand just because like we have actual studies on this shit that like 50% of them are fake. And like I tried to do all of this stuff without sounding academic, like not too like present like something. I'm just trying to explain like, hey, like if you're gonna patch a hole in a bucket, if we have an actual energy leak or mitochondrial miscommunication, or like if we're stuck in like cell danger response or something like that, we need to know exactly what it is so we can patch the leak. Otherwise, you're just putting duct tape on it might be the right bucket, but it may not be where the hole actually is, right? So like
I think explaining the actual pharmacodynamics and getting in, like an academic discussion is ideal, honestly, because that's the problem is that everyone's presenting it on the internet as this simple, quick thing. People don't even understand what they're buying or like underground research chemicals. Like, well, look at the packaging and it's so pretty and I can use my credit card on there and it's fine. I'm like, you do understand what you're doing because people say, well, what's the difference in buying from that website versus getting it prescribed? And then I have to kind of explain that gray area. They really don't know what they're doing. So I think when you do go into more extensive discussions, it's good because it makes them take it seriously. It's not a toy. It's not creatine.
And like I use the analogies to be able to basically like make them understand what the technical aspects are, but I will intentionally speak with the technical language and people are like, oh, you're just doing that to sound like a dick. I'm like, no. I'm doing that so...
If you think I'm doing it to sound like a dick, then you're not ready to take this.
Yeah, no, it's like, if you think this is complex, just wait until we get into detail about this shit. Because like when we are talking about these things, like just using certain words, you guys think this is the deep dive? This is not the fucking deep dive. Like talk to the top people in the industry, fucking sit in the same room and listen to their conversations. And it was surprising to me, like when I started learning some of these things with Dom Kuza, like I started learning these things about like bioregulators and stuff. And I was like, what in the, where do I even fucking start? Like, what the fuck? I need to learn the history of like how medicine was actually invented in fucking Russia. Like, what's the different philosophy behind it? I need to learn about
the king of bioregulators.
Like, I need to learn about Thomas Kuhn and like the revolution of scientific and understanding the flaws within the own scientific methodology and all of these sorts of things. So I basically tried to make people aware that, hey, you're kind of like playing with your own DNA. And if everything starts at the mitochondria, you're literally like tackling the most fundamental part of your physiology without knowing whatever the fuck you're doing. Oh, you were scared of the vaccine? Bro, like you're doing the same fucking thing, bro. Like what do you mean? You know? So like once they can talk back to me and show me that they understand the role and the goal of like each compound and the mechanism. And then we can have a grown-up conversation about like whether it actually belongs in your stack or it doesn't. But honestly, most people's wallets are just, they unfortunately just outpace their thinking capacity. So they rather just like fucking throw money at the problem than to actually think about. And I feel like people are just fucking missing out a ton on it, you know, impatient as fuck and arrogant. Like when people are like, oh, you sound like a dick. I'm like, I sound like a dick. You think you can fucking fix one of the most complicated things that we're spending millions of dollars in research on mitochondrial dysfunction to understand what the fuck it is? You think you're going to fix that on your own because you watched a fucking random ass YouTube video? And
hey, but that girl was running a BOGO and she uses her own label maker.
But like, come on, man. All right, so we started taking GHK copper, and I'm super fucking excited about it. And I think it's just so much more than just a hair and skin peptide. Like so much more. It's one of the most versatile peptides that we actually have. I think once you zoom out of like what you call the pretty boy cream or like the injection, I don't remember the exact term you used.
I think they call it that. It used to be called the pretty boy peptide.
Yeah, it's kind of like the melanotan being like the Barbie one, or you know, like how do you actually deploy GHK? Like, in what context do you see GHK copper being useful?
So in certain repair stacks, obviously we all know what people refer to as the glow, and it's normally like a 10-10-50 is how we're going to see it ratioed out. And we can see it in repair stacks, potential for angiogenesis depending on like what the problems might be. I typically don't opt for things outside of like BPC and TB, like looking at the KPV unless it's ran separately for other reasons, unless we are working with like a more notable recovery, like from surgery or something. And then, of course, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of data about the systemic effects. A lot of the data we have does come from the cosmetic industry, and we know how that information is, unfortunately. So, but I do like GHK. I use it as an injectable and I use it topically on my face and my body. And I actually prefer it over conventional methods for dealing with sunburns. Like when we go
Yes.
on vacation, I bring my GHK.
Yeah, no, I think
Unless I have like an aloe vera plant to like snap, I'm not putting aloe and alcohol on my child's sunburn because their sunscreen washed off and I was like 5 minutes too late and they're as pale as me. But GHK has been life changing.
I heard you saying that on a podcast and I was like, that's fucking genius. I love that.
It's so nice. It doesn't burn and you see notable improvements. It's not just a cooling effect or something. It's incredible for sunburns. And like my mom had a skin cancer removed, and as soon as it was healed up enough for other topicals, we did GHK for her scar.
Yeah, I think it is amazing, and I think I'm already seeing some improvement in my skin. It's week number 2 right now. Maybe I didn't change my diet or anything like that, and I also use like we're using a low dose. We're using like 2 milligrams a day, nothing crazy. Like, but like I think that the hair and skin marketing is kind of underselling GHK. I think that's kind of a shame. Like it's it's great, but like it modulates gene fucking expression and ECM signaling. Like you can use it as a signal booster for other regenerative therapies.
It has such a notable effect. Like when I get tattooed, I don't actually, I stop using it when I get tattooed.
Huh. Interesting.
So I really like GHK, and you'll notice like I mostly like kind of casually talk shit about a lot of different things, but I've never actually said anything negative about GHK. It's one of my favorites, and there's so many different reasons that you can utilize it either topically or systemically. I use it both, and I'm always utilizing. I started making my own body lotion out of it. I'm trying to
I think it's great. I like if someone is going to run like exosomes, I'm going to do it before and after to reduce like IL-6, TNF alpha, and all of these other like inflammatory cytokines. I'm going to use it to like upregulate some repair programs and to improve that like stem cell, like the honing and the retention of them. And again, like, but all of this is phase specific. I don't like to just run fucking peptides year round. People are just taking this close stack now and just running it year round. I'm like, what is the role of inflammation? Do you know what the role of inflammation is in your body? Because you're just shutting off inflammation just nonstop and creating new blood vessels all over your body. Like, have you thought about what that does? I mean, sure, maybe you don't have tennis elbow anymore, but like just think with me about this shit for a second.
I don't think people understand how important inflammation is, especially when your goal is hypertrophy and you're training the way that like you train. Now, I actually had a call earlier with an endurance athlete like, can I just stay on this long term? And I'm like, well, technically you could, but these are, potential risks based on mechanism of action and lack of long-term data. But realistically, like as an endurance athlete, running, he's triathlon type stuff, they would benefit more from constant reductions in inflammatory signaling as training progresses leading up to their comp dates. Whereas for us, it would literally be problematic. We rely on that signaling.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thinks, again, because of TikTok, that they're just in this chronically inflamed state. Everybody's like, I think I have severe systemic inflammation. And I'm like, oh, you learned that word on Instagram, didn't you?
No,
you love that one.
Like...
And then I'm like, well, let's run your inflammatory markers.
Yeah.
Blood work doesn't lie. You're so inflamed. Let's look at it. And then sure enough, I'm like, you're great. And I have you taking omega-3s.
Yeah. Yep. Whenever people are like, I have systemic inflammation, I'm like, what's your IL-6 number is at? And they're like,
and they go,
what?
I haven't done that. What's that?
And I'm like, wait, which inflammatory cytokine is leading you to believe that you have systemic or chronic inflammation?
And I'm still convinced omegas are king. Like,
I take
before anything, like, oh, you want BPC? Good, take your omegas first. Let's up at a gram.
How much do you take a day?
I take 4.
I take
4
grams.
Too.
I take 4 grams.
But that's because I'm on a bunch of medication. So I do anything for like neuroprotection, cognitive function. I'm on a whole bunch of stuff supportive because I take benzos. So
yeah. No, it was the same thing. And when I started taking pregabalin, that like my doctor was also like, hey, your B12 levels, your like omega-3s levels, like all of this shit needs to be on point and everything. And I just like, it was already on point. So just, I take care of this shit. I don't have hair.
That's why I'm still doing glutathione. It hurts. Like I don't want to do it. I'm not taking anything hepatotoxic, but I need to take it with my medications, unfortunately.
Yeah. I got it because since I'm gonna run orals for a longer period of time, I'm just gonna see if the
It
glutathione
just
does
sucks
anything.
so bad. I have seen and I will say this, this is not like a onesie or twosie thing. I have seen liver enzymes improve on cycle with glutathione.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what I keep hearing. So that's what I want to try. I want to see, like, since I know already what like 16 weeks of orals does to my body, which by the way is almost nothing. Like, if I'm just fucking lucky. I don't get great results, but my body doesn't take a toll.
Yeah.
So that's fucking good. I can tolerate a fuck ton of trouble.
Mediocre results for, not a lot of side effects. That sounds like a pretty good trade-off to me.
It is, but I want to see like if the glutathione can actually like do something. But let's shift gears here a little bit to talk about the ladies, right? Because female TRT without masculinization, right? Like I'm sure you're also fucking tired of these ladies taking fucking 10 milligrams of test and then slowly, well, not that
I
slowly.
love that you think 10 is where a lot of women are taking their
No,
TRT.
that's what I
because
see people
I'm seeing
starting at.
20, 25.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, I see clinics prescribing these doses and I'm like,
10 is the standard,
yeah, that's
unfortunately. It
fucking
should
crazy.
not be.
But like in real world coaching, right? When a woman actually needs TRT, what are some practical guide rails that you use so that like they can get the upside without waking up one day with a dick bigger than they actually wanted to have?
So I want to say first and foremost, a lot of women don't need TRT. A lot of women do not. And they unfortunately don't have the diagnostics performed to see where they're deficient and why testosterone is lower than where it should be.
And they
So outside of
try anything
wanting,
before. They don't try like DHA, they don't try chestberry, they don't try to like modulate everything, boron it.
there's so much you can do to drastically even triple, quadruple
Yeah.
your total testosterone and improve free testosterone levels. And just like with men, we're not looking at just total test. Free testosterone can drastically impact our quality of life, our sex lives, and libido especially. So first of all, identifying the need for testosterone. And sometimes it is going to be more of a performance base for like maybe a more muscular physique athlete. So finding, is there a need and are we deficient? That's the first conversation we have. But I think a lot of it is the conversation that doesn't occur, and it's about preventive methods. So what I like to say is I work with a lot of virilized athletes. I do. I work with trans athletes. And that's kind of why I'm very familiar with at what dosages and levels we kind of start to see those changes at. But I think virilization should be an informed choice and not an accident. So if you really are informed on what the differences are between general side effects that come with playing with your hormones versus virilization, because masculinization is typically permanent and irreversible, I think that is a huge preventive method right there. So if you get dosed 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, something astronomical, you're not going to think that you just chronically have a dry throat and you're clearing it all the time and you have a little bug or something. You're going to identify that and be like, something's wrong. I'm going to stop. If you know what to look for, differences between slight clitoral enlargement, like what you'd see with like an Anavar cycle versus actual clitoral growth. When we start to see breast atrophy, a lot of women don't understand that anything involving hair is permanent, whether we are triggering hair follicle growth and maturity on our bodies and androgenic alopecia. Those are not reversible things. It's hair follicle miniaturization. So I think a lot of that just comes from education. So that way, if you are fucked and you're dosed wrong, you can identify it and stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like whenever I'm dealing with someone, and out of all the women that I deal with, all of them we triple their test by just using supplements, herbs, like legit just doing that. Aubrey is the only one that's actually on TRT, and the reason being is like, hey, we're gonna be hopping on and off cycle every X number of weeks. It just makes sense for us to actually be on. And plus, her test was actually really fucking low, like really, really low. And it was like her free test was like a 0.6 or some shit like that. It was like really, really bad. So, and it had a noticeable improvement. And we found the dose that doesn't virilize or anything like that. And we settled at 3.5 milligrams a week. We try to push it to 3.8 and she starts getting sensitivity. So it's like 3.5 is the max. So that's exactly where we stay at. So like, I want to make sure that there's like a stable balance between estrogen and progesterone as well, because progesterone is just so fucking ignored in these protocols, and it like lack of progesterone just causes so many issues in women. And
Lack of progesterone, you want to talk about the sleep issues, that
I
sleep being an
think
underlying
progesterone.
cause for things, right? Progesterone's incredible, but we also see, again, another issue with overprescribing. It's underprescribed by our primary carers and our gynecologists. It goes ignored, but we see it overprescribed in a lot of the clinic settings because let's say we do have a woman and she looks to be progesterone deficient. Well, are we looking at the early follicular phase? Did we ask where they were in their menstrual cycle? Are they on hormonal contraceptives? To me, it's kind of you're running in circles if you're on a specific hormonal contraceptive that's causing HPO downregulation. We're not doing replacement dosages. And then we put them on HRT when we could just switch contraceptives. But I just see a lot of incorrect prescribing, both under and over. And progesterone, especially in a physique athlete, has like a diuretic effect. You look snatched, you're tighter, you don't have that lower abdominal bloating. Estrogen dominance is something you can see. Something you can feel. Like, I'm crazy enough.
And it sucks.
I don't need to be estrogen dominant on top of that. I don't need it either.
Yeah,
I love progesterone.
Yeah.
And even perimenopausal women, while they're still having those estrogen swings, they might be doing like a vaginal DHEA or something, but a little bit of progesterone can help alleviate those night sweats. I mean, I love progesterone. People forget that it's also a thermoregulator.
Yeah, I think progesterone is a major hack. If people are watching this, like legit, progesterone when you're dealing with insomnia from tren, it's actually fucking helpful. Mega dosing glycine plus progesterone, chef's kiss. And
I love
also,
progesterone.
Since you're on benzos, if you've never tried before, I'm talking like 15, 20 grams of glycine has almost the exact same effect as a benzo, but it doesn't fuck up your sleep quality. Like,
really,
try it out once. You're gonna take it within a few minutes, like 30 minutes or so. You're gonna start getting that shift, like the visual that you kind of see that just it hit me, like it's time to go to bed. You get that with mega dosing glycine. It's very, very interesting.
I will have to try that because I actually have to come off of mine for 2 days before my ketamine treatment.
Dude, try.
But I'm like, I gotta come off of this. Like
it's fun. Mega dosing glycine it's very underrated, and glycine is another one that has so many benefits.
I'll try it tonight because I don't want the idea of trying to go 2 days without.
Yeah. No, it's dangerous too, Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Like I also like when I'm dealing with a woman, I also make sure that we cap the shit like around symptoms and not the numbers on paper. And so many clinics are just dealing with numbers on paper, and coaches too. And don't even fucking get me started on how coaches deal with female physiology. They just treat women as smaller guys. That's the only difference. That's it. Like I talk to fucking women who have PCOS and all of this type of shit. And I'm like, what does your coach do to fix that? I was like, nothing. We're just on cycle. And I'm like, aren't you tired of just living in pain for no reason? But anyways, like I want to start at like 3 milligrams. And honestly, I find that 3 milligrams is enough for the majority of people. Some people need even less than that. And I also make sure
some women are not candidates. Some women virilized off 15 milligrams of DHEA in a 3.5 week duration.
Aubrey got signs of virilization at 5 milligrams of DHEA.
And without doing extensive Dutch panels and looking at metabolites, you don't know your body's preferred metabolic pathways. And luckily, it's something that, again, knowledge.
People don't even know what the Dutch test is.
And to be fair, it's expensive. It's not easily accessible. It's more accessible now than it used to be because everybody's in the realm of biohacking. And then what are you going to do with those results? You have to be with a provider that's going to help you interpret it and tell you what to do with them. Even interpretation doesn't mean much unless you see practical application with it.
It's kind of like a GI map. It's like you got the result and it's like, so what? What you going to do with it?
My first GI map, that was an experience. I didn't realize I had to like poop in a box. I was like, well, this is terrible. And then I get to play in it. Ugh.
So another thing that I want to track, I track hairline. So I asked them to take photos of their hairline to see like where these things are at. I also asked them to take, and this is very unconventional, but I do ask them to take a photo and keep this shit safe. Please do not fucking send it to me. But know where your clit was and where it is right now, like, so you can at least see whether this is just a sensation, because there's a difference between that little bit of sensation you get in the beginning of a cycle or something like that and the actual like growth that feels uncomfortable and things like that. And I also do like a voice log every day, just tracking where their voice is at like every single day. And I also wish people believed me when I say that like she's running 3.5 milligrams a week and that's it. Like, but they don't. They don't believe it because they have this shitty work.
I couldn't even handle one milligram. I really wish I was a good candidate for TRT, but it's just like with men, you know, everybody's response is going to be different. And it's hard when you see standard prescribing start at 10 milligrams. It sounds odd that somebody would only use 2 to 3, but that's where a lot of women, you know, are in optimal ranges. And I think it's crazy when women are like, well, yeah, I'm running 20 milligrams. I'm not symptomatic. And this is an unfortunate part that I have to deal with. I don't know if you've had to deal with it, but so many women come to me and they're like, yeah, it's great. I haven't virilized at all. I've been running 20 milligrams a test for 3 years and nobody can tell. And I'm looking at their 5 o'clock shadow and I'm like, are you sure? Because like, and you're in the bodybuilding realm. So, you know, virilization, women think like, oh, it's no big deal. I'll have a deeper voice. And I'm like, oh, honey, if it was just that, then we would all be virilized, right? First of all, you might sound like an alien. You don't know what vocal cord hypertrophy is going to sound like. But when you do start to virilize, it's a very distinct pitch. Like I can spot there is a huge difference between a deep voice and a viralized voice. And it's when you're in the bodybuilding industry, like, you know, I'm so used to it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But you can hear it. And so many women, you know, they'll be slightly too high, but it happens over the course of years. So like what you do when we do like photos of hairlines, understanding like where your vulva and your clitoris kind of line up before you start, understanding like even with breast implants, you may experience mild breast atrophy. They're just going to feel a little softer, like fluctuations around our menstrual cycle kind of thing. It's so important that they are tracking these things. And the voices and photos, taking videos of yourself, it's so important. And I did a podcast with another doctor. She was overdosed. She's a medical doctor, was overdosed on testosterone and didn't realize she had virilized until she went back and compared videos. She's a content creator. And she went back and looked at her videos and she was like, I had no idea. And it's irreversible. And she makes a lot. And I love that she makes content on that because unfortunately, you're going to hear about women on tests that have a great experience and they're sharing it, right? Because everybody loves to share positive things on the internet. But when you disfigure yourself and you know what that's going to look like on the internet, how mean people are, you're generally not sharing those bad experiences. You don't want to go on there with a disfigured face or voice and have everybody make fun of you. And it's a harsh place. It is. Yeah. But we're not seeing those experiences being shared, unfortunately. Only the good ones.
Yeah. No, we
and you can feel great at high test levels without it being 700.
Yeah. No, dude, I saw this woman online. I screenshotted it and I sent it to a couple of people. I'm like, this is fucking insane. And I should have called her out. I didn't make a post on it because I was like, this is so outrageous. But she was like, hey, my test levels are like 1,500 and I feel great at it and I don't virilize. And I'm like, bitch, I can see your dick. Like, come on.
I don't think they understand the facial structure changes that come along with that. And I always tell women like, yeah, of course you feel good with androgens like surging through your veins. No shit, you feel good. But again, and there's nothing wrong with virilization, but it should be an informed choice, decision. Not an accident. And but they're not using these tracking tools and they don't understand that it's happening to them. And they don't understand, like, let's look at PCOS as an example. You had brought that up. Well, when we look at in a clinical setting, as well as what I see on a day-to-day basis, you're really not going to see a lot of total testosterone levels over 100 with PCOS, maybe up to 150. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we actually have totally normal tests, but SHBG is very low and we have very high free tests. Mm-hmm. So if that's what we're seeing in PCOS, and we know that elevated androgens can influence insulin sensitivity negatively, why would we intentionally put ourselves into a PCOS environment when it's within our control? Because let me tell you, you want to boost that libido, you want a little more muscle, you want a little more energy, you can achieve that on 70 nanograms per deciliter. You don't have to be at 300, 400, 700 to get those effects. You will still feel great if other lifestyle factors are dialed in. And that's why I think a lot of women get on TRT as an initial Band-Aid and they're like, oh, I feel so great. And then over time, they're like, well, now I feel the same. And the doctor's like, well, let me increase that dose. And I'm like, oh, but did we check her thyroid? Did we run like any deficiency screenings? Mm-hmm. Did we check anything else? Or did we just see that she had low normal thyroid? And that's another thing.
The fucking low or normal thyroid, it just pisses me the fuck off. It's one of the easiest levers to just boost your metabolism, to just have your thyroid levels in like the upper 25%. But I find that like people are terrified of taking thyroid meds. And I'm like, bro, we have data that
I take thyroid meds and Clint.
yeah, dude, I fucking take thyroid meds year round just because I just want to take advantage of all of the benefits of that. I'm not losing muscle. I'm not like pushing myself into hyper, ranges or anything like that. But it's just super fucking beneficial. Like we have data, these people fucking taking it for years and then they come off and within like literally a couple of weeks, their levels are back to what they were. Testosterone, that doesn't happen.
We have so much data showing that exogenous thyroid meds, you just go back to normal function.
Yeah. And it's also like the way that we treat thyroid, it kind of pisses me off that we're still just using like monotherapy of T4 when we like we have like there's this very cool study where they track like hundreds of people and like 60% of them saw no change whatsoever in their free T3 levels with T4 monotherapy, but that's still the standard in medicine.
And I don't understand why it's not individualized. Like if we take somebody that's higher cardiovascular risk, very sensitive to stimulants, maybe they're on certain medications where there might be a contraindication, then like, yeah, T4 is monotherapy, especially if somebody has no conversion issues. They have adequate selenium, zinc, iodine, carb intake, everything's lined up. They might be a candidate, but are most people? No. And they don't see those results. They don't see those positive changes and they don't see those hypo symptoms really resolve or even to come into target ranges until we add Cytomel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan. I'm doing both right now, but I eventually will drop the T4 and just do T3 because I don't think the T4 did actually anything for me. And I'm not micronutrient deficient or anything like that. I didn't see anything like I didn't see like reverse T3 going up. I was also taking it's not Siberian ginseng, it's the other one. Panax ginseng, it actually lowers reverse T3. So I was taking that at the time as well. So like and like everything was done right. It just don't respond to it like the majority of people. So, but with T3, man, my body temperatures went up immediately. Like I feel like I'm on almost like a stimulant, so to speak. Like there's just more drive. And I feel more that with thyroid medication than I do with testosterone. Like the drive and the energy.
It changes everything. And that's why I always tell people optimizing your free T3. Like my poor mom, I use her as an example for everything, but she has Graves' disease. So she has no thyroid. It was removed a long time ago. And they kept putting her on T4. And I'm like, Mom, you're going to die. Her free T3 was 2.2.
God.
And I've been saying like, let's put you on a combo. Let's put you on armor. Let's put you on armor. She finally listened to me. My mom down 20 pounds. Quit napping. Everybody knows my mom was like, she's the lady that naps. She naps. No more naps. Lost weight, had energy, like didn't need a house cleaner anymore. Like just everything just kind of came together. And she sat on that chair behind me and cried one night. And I was like, wait, I thought you felt better. She was like, I just wish I had known I could have felt better so many years ago. And that's the issue. They look at the TSH, and as long as they consider TSH, quote unquote, in range, that's where the medication attempts stop.
Like, it's like you don't even understand how we go from, like your hypothalamus signaling to your pituitary to getting the TRH to the TSH to then creating the conversion, the thyroid globulin, transporting that onto your bloodstream. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense to just look at TSH if you just understand what I just said. Like, why are we still fucking doing that? But because you have a medical degree, then I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And like people don't.
There's a lot of providers and even endocrinologists now. They're going to be a little bit in terms of age range. They're going to be older, but there's a lot of endocrinologists that still won't even pull free T.
It pisses me off that people don't pull reverse T3 from the beginning, but like I know that
they never do. You have to go in and like that's a lot of people order it through us because their providers just will not. Yep. They will not look at it.
I'll look at that. I'll look at TPO antibodies. I want to. If I'm want to know what your thyroid is doing, I can't just have T4 and TSH, bro. So when people tell me like, oh, my labs look normal.
Are you sure you don't just need TSH?
Yeah. Like every time someone is like, oh, I did my labs, so everything is fine. Like, I think I'm ready for a cycle and stuff. And I'm like, let me take a look at your labs.
I hate that. I hate when someone tells me everything was good. I need help with X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, everything's not good. And at the end of the day, and this applies to female TRT as well, reference ranges do not mean that you're good, healthy, or optimal. Reference ranges vary by lab. There is not an industry standard, but also they do exist for a reason, but that does not account for biofeedback. So if you're neglecting any of those areas, it's irresponsible care. And that's what I tell women with TRT too, is I'm like, look, like, are you low normal or very low testosterone? Like, yes, it's still considered normal. You are not clinically deficient. It's important to be aware of that. You still get TRT, like we'll put you on it, that's fine. But like when we see the physiological norms for women, why are we trying to go 10 times above that? Those reference ranges, although they should, you are not defined by a number, and those reference ranges are ass for a lot of people.
They are.
But we do have to keep in mind like what our bodies are meant to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And people seem to forget that.
the LabCorp reference range for insulin goes to 25.
Right? I remember I'm like, okay, once it hits double digits, I'm getting real antsy. If we're at 10,
Like if it's like
if we're in
7 or like,
I like to see it under 5,
yeah,
ideally.
dog. Like I don't.
Yeah, it goes up to 25. Is that not insane?
And then it's also like the doctor that will pull glucose without insulin too.
Nobody put, and I go and I lecture medical students at universities. Some of their professors have me come in and I do
Nice.
like a very quick like HRT thing. And that's one of the things that I always do is I talk about like home IR, what we're looking at for like fasting glucose, comparing it to fasting insulin, what the numbers mean, what stage we're at, looking at triglycerides, because they don't, a lot of them are just pull that CMP and call it a day.
I mean, they have no idea of functional like ratios. Like when you talk about like triglyceride to HDL ratio, they're like, what? Like their LDL is low, so they're healthy. I'm like, wait,
I've seen
what?
what lab range does LDL up to 130?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
Access Labs that does that?
I think for LabCorp is like 120.
I think LabCorp's typically capped at 100, but one of them does 130 or something. I was horrified when I saw that. Oh no, it froze on my end.
Sorry, I
Are you
think
there? It froze on my end.
it froze on my end too. Yeah, it's like 120 for LabCorp. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But again, like you get that, and you're not checking like your your ApoB. You're not checking like particle size or anything like that. Like you also don't know what the fuck is going on. So.
And it's crazy to me how many providers will see issues with lipids and won't do like an ApoA1, ApoB ratio. They're not going to pull like an LPA. They're not going to do all particle sizes. Like there's so many important things to look at. And that's to me, that's standard primary care. Like there should be no coach in the world. You and I should never have to tell a client like, hey, you should get this checked out. That should come from their primary care provider. No coach should be pointing out that testing was neglected.
Yeah. Yeah, which is like one of the reasons why we hired a medical doctor to actually be on OptiLab. So like we have someone that's actually working within the parameters of medicine, but also these, more novel compounds and like more research, like newer chemicals and bioregulators and all of this type of stuff, because it creates like a cohesive approach and people don't get into this disconnect of like, who should I listen to? I'm like, listen to the doctor. He actually has a degree and he's telling you BPC 157 is actually useful for your Hashimoto's. And so is stomach wort, like so is TB500, so is thymosin alpha 1, so is like cortexin because it regulates your, gut thyroid axis at the hypothalamic level, like you would never hear that from your primary care provider. Yeah. And that's why you will fucking die with Hashimoto's. It's going to eat your fucking thyroid up, before you are able to have like a normal life experience. But in any case, like on TRT, I feel like people, like on peptides and TRT, there's also the other side where people think that if they take peptides, then they don't need TRT, which is like just started as like people who say that like, if they take supplements, then I don't need peptides. But I feel like people lack like a category and like a framework to know what to deploy and when. So like when you're talking to people like this, how do you like reset their expectations, like about like the outcomes of peptides? Because right now I feel like people are acting like, peptides are a substitute for everything. It's like you take one thing.
Anavar. I like to compare the expectations we see from taking peptides for performance purposes. The outcome people anticipate is what we actually get with Anavar.
Yeah. And I feel like
which is so not what's going to happen.
Yeah. And guys are like, oh, I'm on TRT, so I should expect to see some change. I'm like, if you do everything right, you will see some absurd changes on 120 milligrams a week. You will fucking change your life. But odds are you're not doing that within a cohesive framework. So you're going to be just like the rest of the 83% of guys that start TRT and then eventually fucking drop. They don't do it because they didn't see any benefit because your expectations were all fucking wrong. So like I have this like category of levers that I do. Like the first one is going to be like base capacity, right? So the stuff that we talked at the beginning, like your sleep, your stress levels, your food, it's the terrain that the seed is going to be planted on. Like if that shit is not 100% dialed in, and I really mean 100%, peptides likely won't really do work. Steroids,
you dangle them as that reward.
Yeah, you can. But like steroids will to an extent, but peptides won't. They really, really won't. Now, primary drivers, then the second lever will be things like androgens, like thyroid medications, growth hormone, but all within like a sequence of protocol, a phase. And if you legitimately fucking need it, right? Otherwise we're just adding a bunch of excess noise and it just makes things even more complicated. And it's already hard to diagnose people. Like adding more things in just makes it even fucking harder. And then what I call fine tuning and support, that's what peptides are. They're literally like mitochondrial agents, redox modulation, even things like GLP-1.
The sprinkles on top.
It's the cherry on top. So like they live in this third layer for me because they cannot literally they cannot over like drive this like anabolic drive or like properly use testosterone of the like or these like structural changes that you see from like proper training and structural recovery and things like that. So like I feel like if people are expecting and you see these transformations like 6 months, like 3 month, 12-week transformation on BPC, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Transformation on like peptides? Like what the fuck? I feel like you're just setting up yourself for disappointment and also to become fucking poor because you're not going to get the results that you want because these are expensive as fuck. So like we use peptides to make training and hormones safer and more efficient. That's it. So they are the enhancers of the enhancers. That's how I frame this shit. So it's not like it doesn't set up this false expectation. And I feel like people are like, man, I'm not feeling these things. I'm like, you're not going to feel it. It's not Adderall. Like
that's one that I hear a lot. They're like, what am I going to feel? And what was it? There was everybody always asking me like, I didn't feel it. And I'm like, are you going to feel your telomeres lengthening? Do you physically feel that? Because I don't physically. I must be. What's wrong with me?
Yeah. Do you feel like thymosin like level like changing like like that? You can't feel that shit.
You're saying you can't feel things actively binding to receptors in your body because everybody else can, and it's not working unless you can feel it.
Yeah. But people do be feeling their feelings, man. The people like we start, and I do like if you start TRT with me, it's going to be 25 milligrams a day. That's the starting point. Like we're not going to do anything else besides that, and I find that to be already a pretty high dose for most people. Like for some guys, I usually have them skip 1 or 2 days a week just to keep their levels normal and avoid having to use an AI and stuff like that. But like they start taking it, and in the first week, they're like, man, I'm already feeling so much better and everything. And I'm like, that's great.
They do
that's
one
awesome.
Injection and they're like, man, my life has changed. Or they inject it pre-gym. They're like, oh, I just love taking it before the gym.
Yeah, I saw a video of someone talking about doing trenbolone pre-workout. And I'm like, bro, it's an acetate. It's not suspension.
It's wild to me. But again, placebo effects are very, very, powerful.
Real. No, the study that we have on that, on testosterone, the comparison, the group that actually was taking a placebo had significant muscle growth and like strength gains that are comparable to steroids.
I had a client. This is my favorite story. Hopefully he listens to this. I had a client and I was like, bruh, you got bunk gear. Like it's not. He's like, no, he's the real deal. And I'm like, if you have to say he's the real deal, I promise you what you're taking is garbage. Okay. He insisted that, and this dude hit PRs, and he's really jacked to begin with. Okay. Like he has a really great foundation and he is strong. Like if you watch him lift, it's like watching a power lifter, but repping everything. He really is strong, but he hit PRs on everything. Like he was adding so much weight onto his lifts, and he was like, I love test. I feel so great. My sex drive is back. Like his whole life turned around, and I'm sitting there thinking, blood work.
Yep.
We're going to do some follow-up labs. Natural as can be. Totally natty. I was like, he's injecting straight grapeseed oil. And he was like, that's not right, but I hate it. And I was like, no, that's because you were not
seed
living
oil
up
is
to
real.
your potential.
Like,
That meant you could have pushed harder
Yeah.
and you thought that having a compound changed things, but this is what was in you the entire time. It was a placebo effect. And that's great because look at how much progress you've made. Now what's going to happen when we actually put you on test? But that's my favorite story to tell because his progress was incredible and it supposedly changed his life and he took nothing.
Yeah, it fucking happens, man. I mean, I see all these. If I can't like literally measure the effect of something, I'm like, I don't know if it works or not. So like tesofensine, I'm taking right now. Again, I'm taking a higher dose than what is studied.
That's why you're having bowel issues.
Tesofensine is pretty good, like for like food noise.
I never got far enough into it.
Really,
Yeah, I was shitting my pants.
really. Damn, man. No,
It was horrible. That's probably the worst one. And I do like it. And I think it has such a big role for like binge eating disorders because of how it can
that's
impact
why I took it.
neurotransmitters. It's not good if you poop your pants.
It stopped it completely for me. Like the food noise went away. The ability to like stop eating, that's cagrilintide. Retta didn't really do the needle for, like, they didn't really move the needle for me as much. Cagrilintide and
Really?
tesofensine, that's the actual tits for me. Like that did the job like perfectly. It's really, really good. But I had to push 1.5 milligrams of teso. Like at 500 micrograms, I couldn't feel anything. It was like
Nothing.
no difference whatsoever. And I know we only studied up to 1 milligram, but like,
And that's what you're on that right now too.
yeah.
You're on all the things.
Because it's a, I mean, I was supposed to do an 8-week cut that was, long and, like prolonged and a reasonable rate, got sick, don't have time to do another cut. So I had to compress everything into 3 weeks. So I'm like, I kind of just have to be a little bit more aggressive. So I got to get
nuke the appetite.
It works. But speaking of nuking appetite, I think we're seeing this type of like nonsense over and over, right? Like the overdose TRT on women. We're seeing like GLP-1 abuse just across the board and kids just playing with chemistry, like with their peptides and shit, like clinics throwing AIs and DECA at fucking dads that don't even walk their fucking dogs. Like if you had this magic wand and you could change just one thing about the optimization space right now, not a molecule, like a behavior or a pattern, like what would you kill first and why?
That's the hardest question anybody's ever asked me because there's so much.
I know, but you can only get rid of one.
Just remove social media.
Yeah, people would not even know how to use Google anymore to buy this shit.
I think we are in such a dangerous space. I see now I'm showing my age here, but I see like literal children being like, ask me about peptides live stream. And I'm like, little boy, I am literally failing organic chemistry right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little boy who is in his parents' basement and may or may not have a driver's license. Please do not educate people on this.
Yeah.
Lady who never once exercised in her life, got on a GLP, lost 30 pounds way too rapidly. Please do not tell people how to mimic your GLP journey when you lost all of your muscle mass and your hair. What we're seeing is so dangerous. And even what I do, I'm a contributor to that. And you could argue, well, if you put out ethical, responsible information, I'm sorry, that doesn't exist in this space because so much is anecdotal and talking about it normalizes it. And just because somebody has appropriate, good, adequate, maybe actually scientifically backed information where we have clinical data and it's empirical, they're still making it mainstream and accessible, just like the shitty GLP peptide princess. We're all kind of contributing. Now, our hopes is that we put our information out there and we contribute to safer use protocols, people educating themselves, hiring professionals, working in conjunction with their providers, getting blood work, but it's social media in general. I understand why my shit's silenced. I understand why I get shadow banned. I understand why I wasn't eligible for the For You page. It just sucks because GLP mama over here who's selling peptides on a live stream is getting pushed, but I took a picture with the syringe in my mouth.
Yep. Which, by the way, that picture is dope as shit. When I saw it, I was like, damn.
Super cool pictures. I'm going to keep putting them out and just see how long it takes to get in trouble again because I paid a lot for that photo shoot.
Yeah, you look like you're straight out of like a comic book that Todd designed it or some shit, you know?
Right? I was so proud of those, and then they all got like nixed and taken off, and I'm like, but the cosmetic injectors do it. I just talk about steroids is all. Oops.
So like I'm with you. I'm 100% with you here. Now I'll tell you what I see underneath like all of these things because I think there's a pattern. And if you guys are still watching this shit like all the way to the end, this is the gold. Okay. So pay attention. No one, and I literally mean that, no one has a real order of operations for this thing. So clinics are going to treat like hormones like it's literally a personality upgrade. It's more energy. It's more, more drive. It's more cognition. And people are going to treat GLP-1s like a way to avoid having to be intentional about nourishing their bodies. And do we treat peptides like Pokemon cards? You just fucking got to catch them all, right? What's missing here is what you and I hinted at with our content, just over and over and over. It's the thing that I'm fucking nailing every single post that I make. People lack a system that says exactly what gets fixed, what's off limits, when drugs makes the most sense, which drugs makes the most sense, when deploying then would make things worse, and how do we know when something is helping or when something is just patching a symptom instead of actually correcting the issue upstream. So half of what I do with my people isn't giving them like new toys to play with, is actually providing like a sequence, a clear set of like gates before each lever gets pulled and weekly reviews for them so that like it makes it pretty much impossible for us to lie to ourselves about what's really driving the change here. And the reason this works and why I love your work is because we both get pissed at the same fucking levers. We just come at it from different angles, right? So you live in the pharmacology and the coaching, and I live in like the formalizing this control system that keeps people from like eating themselves alive, so to speak. Does that make
And that's the thing. It is madness out there, but our role is that we can and we do create method to the madness.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people forget that that's possible.
Yeah, exactly. And what I tell people all the time, it's like, hey, just because you don't have a method doesn't mean you don't have a method. What do I mean? You're just not aware of your methodology, but you have one. Your methodology is to just throw shit at it whenever you see a new like shiny object. It's shiny object syndrome. Is the grass is greener if this next peptide is going to be the answer. Like, oh, I can't lose weight, but I keep fucking binging. What is going to stop my binging? I'm like, have you tried psychology? Like actual, like someone working with you to correct these thinking patterns? Because maybe it's not a physiological issue. Maybe it's trauma, right? Like maybe you need an integrative approach that's going to deal with these things. And just because you lack one doesn't mean that you don't have one. It just means that you are not aware of what your own system is. But make no mistake, you are operating under a system is just a very fucking shitty one.
Getting your information from TikTok is typically a red flag, I would say. And
you're so kind.
I'm gonna share this story, and I gave myself the ick. Like, I am ashamed of this. But somebody left me a comment, they're like, your skin looks really great. What do you do for skincare? And I made like a funny video. I was like, this is what all, and like, you know how I talk. And I was like, this is what all the skincare girlies are doing, because that's not how I fucking talk. And I named some of the stuff that I do, like tretinoin, my GHK serum, and then heavy moisturizer and occlusive. Like I've gotten into the skincare thing. And I was like, but the most important thing you can do, I said, the secret for all the good skin you see on TikTok. And I turned my camera and I showed my ring light. Dude, you think my teeth look this white in real life? I got nice teeth. It's the ring light.
Yeah.
Ring lights make you so much hotter than what you are in real life. And I even turned off the ring light in the video, and I was like, now you're not asking about my skincare, are you? And I turned it back on. And so I made that video, and I thought it was like funny, very honest. And I'm like, look at me making content. Haha. That serum I mentioned, I have a discount code for it. I didn't mention the discount code for it. I didn't even mention the specific serum. I just said that I use a GHK serum. And I went to I was a dead last in sales of all the affiliates. I went to the #1 spot in 24 hours.
That's insane.
I mean, it's cool. I got some money from discounts. I appreciate the support, but do you know how disgusted I was with myself after that? And the fact that people were not messaging me being like, how is this effective? How does it work? Am I a candidate for it? That In 24 hours, I went to the #1 sales spot. And don't get me wrong, y'all know I love my GHK. We already covered that.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing, except what if I'd been talking about something potentially dangerous or very controversial? That could have been a very different situation. And I don't have a strong following. It's not like I'm famous or anything. I just film about steroids in my sweatpants. So just like the power that some people hold, and seeing that happen with a small creator like myself was fucking horrifying.
Yeah. No, it really,
And the whole thing was the ring light, because it really does make a difference.
sales of ring lights has also went up.
I got a ring light on my computer, and I don't have any lights on. There's a ring light coming at me this way. Like,
Yeah.
I am telling you,
Yeah.
that's the real hack if you're on social
Yeah.
media.
No, there's so much more involved, man. But we're gonna land this plan right here. DJ, again, thank you for doing this with us. This is the exact type of conversation that I think we need to have, not just like hyping up a bunch of compounds and shit or fear mongering, but actually thinking about the strategy behind this thing. If you're listening to this and you don't already follow her, you need to fix that shit. So go follow Coach DJ Vanilla Face on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Consume her content. Send it to your coach. Send it to your clinic. Be a dick. Make them uncomfortable. And if this episode actually hit home for you, do the usual health skipping stuff. Hit the like, subscribe to OptiCast, drop a comment with one thing you're going to change in your stack before you add anything new. And then I want you to do this. Send it to one friend. You know exactly who that friend is, who's buying every single peptide under the sun. And he's just mixing your fucking GLPs, your SARMs, your NAD, and God knows what in the same week and has no idea what he's doing. If you care about him, just get this shit in front of him, because you could actually be benefiting him. So we'll be back with more deep dives on how to use drugs that we all love in a way that actually enhances your life instead of costing it. DJ, again, thank you for being here. And to everyone listening, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.